When the CEO, Isabella, got back from her business trip, she found the boyfriend who once couldn't live without her had become a completely different person. He no longer doted on her, no longer at her beck and call. The old games, like pretending to be drunk and swearing he had to marry her, were gone. He just kept to himself, lost in thought. She asked me, "Why are you spacing out? Is something on your mind?" I just smiled and didn't answer. There was nothing on my mind because my heart was already dead to her. "All right, I won't push you," she said. "If something's wrong, just tell me. Don't keep it bottled up." With that, Isabella Miller pulled a watch from her purse and handed it to me. "A gift for you." "What for?" I asked. "Is it a special occasion?" She answered casually, "You were good while I was away on my last trip. This is your reward." For a moment, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. In the past, whenever she traveled for work, I would call constantly to check her schedule and make sure she was safe. It drove her crazy, but I persisted until eventually she just started rejecting my calls altogether. When it happened, I would get anxious and worried, so I'd contact her best friend or even call the police. We had fought about it countless times. This time, however, it wasn't that I had managed to restrain myself. It was because last week, just as I was about to call her, I saw a post on her assistant, Chris Peterson's, Facebook page. Under the Icelandic northern lights, Isabella was on one knee in front of him, wearing a wedding dress. The caption read, "Marry me." They were embracing, crying tears of joy. How romantic, a woman proposing to the man she loves. For me, her boyfriend of 7 years, to call at that moment would have been completely out of place. The moment I put my phone down, my heart trembled. The thread that had been pulled taut for 7 years finally snapped. That's what led to the man I am today. I looked up at Isabella and tossed the watch back to her. "I don't need it. Consider it my wedding gift to you." A flicker of shock crossed her face. "If you know, then just say it," she snapped. "What's the point of being passive-aggressive? The proposal was just a joke, something for fun. I'm not actually going to marry him." A joke? In this relationship, I was the real joke. "Isabella, let's break up." Her expression turned to ice in an instant. "Don't you ever say the word breakup to me. Ever." Her domineering attitude was a product of years of me doing exactly what she wanted. Arguing further would be pointless. Ignoring her fury, I turned, walked into the study, and called my mother. "Mom, I'll do it. I'll come home and marry the Hayes family heir." "Wonderful," she chirped. "I'll have someone arrange the wedding immediately. You just need to come back and attend." Marriages between powerful families were always like this. No sentiment, just efficiency. My mother sounded overjoyed on the other end of the line. She had always wanted me to come home, take over the family business, and marry into the Hayes family. To be honest, if it hadn't been for Isabella, I would have been on this path long ago. 7 years ago, I moved to Austin for her so we could build a company together. I worked myself to the bone to make the company a success. I believed it was the only way for us to have a stable, happy future together. Now the company is thriving, but she's changed. Ever since Chris Peterson was hired as her assistant a year ago, it was like she couldn't even see me anymore. If that was the case, what was the point in trying so hard? That night, I slept in the guest room. From the other side of the door, I could occasionally hear Isabella's laughter as she chatted for hours on the phone with Chris. A little later, Chris forwarded me a voice message on iMessage. It was Isabella's voice, telling him a bedtime story to help him sleep. I ignored his provocation. I just wanted to get some sleep. Once my phone was off, there would be no more interruptions. Isabella would sleep in the master bedroom. Ever since Chris became her assistant, she had refused to sleep in the same bed with me. At first it made me miserable, but now it just felt like a relief. I guess I really didn't love her as much as I used to. The next day, I went to the office with my letter of resignation. The moment I walked into the company, I saw Isabella carrying lunch for two into her office. There at the desk she never allowed me to get near, she was doting on Chris, placing food on his plate, and gently wiping a smudge from the corner of his mouth. Chris saw me too, a smirk playing on his lips, his eyes filled with defiance. He leaned in and whispered something in Isabella's ear. A moment later, Isabella closed the blinds. No one at the company knew about my relationship with Isabella, so everyone assumed she and Chris were a real couple. Because of that, resigning was incredibly easy. Still, I had to go through the official HR process. I still had to stick around for a few more days. Before the end of the day, Chris found me. "Davis, Isabella, and I are grabbing dinner tonight," he said. "You should join us." "No thanks," I replied. "I have plans." As I walked past him, I heard Isabella's slightly annoyed voice behind me. "Just ignore him. You know how he is, so petty, always getting jealous over nothing." On the way home, I saw Chris's new Facebook post. "Huge thanks to the best boss ever. She knew I loved gaming and got me a complete PS5 bundle." The photo showed him playing, and in the corner of the shot, you could see Isabella holding the second controller. I used to love video games, but Isabella hated seeing me play. "You're a grown man, not a 3-year-old, she'd say. Can you stop being so childish?" Eventually, she threw my console right out the door. But now, she not only bought a whole setup for Chris, she was playing with him. Did she really hate the games, or did she just hate me? I pushed the thought away, refusing to let the emotions overwhelm me. I picked up my pace and headed home. That night, I had just gotten into bed after washing up when a video call from Chris popped up on my phone. I answered. On the screen, Chris was holding up a very drunk Isabella. "Hey, Davis," he smirked, "just want to show you. Isabella's drunk, but I'm being a perfect gentleman." The words were barely out of his mouth when Isabella lifted her head and kissed him on the cheek. Chris feigned surprise for a second, then a triumphant smirk spread across his face. "Davis, don't get the wrong idea," he said. "She's just wasted, probably thinks I'm you. I'll bring her home right now." I smiled and replied calmly, "Don't go to all that trouble. Just get a hotel room for the night." Then I hung up. Later that night, I was jolted awake by a loud banging on the front door. Forcing down my annoyance, I opened it to find Chris propping up Isabella. "Davis, I hear you're mad at Isabella because of that whole proposal thing with me." I gave him a cold look and shook my head. "No." Chris's face was plastered with a smug grin. "Stop pretending. If you really can't handle it, you should just break up with her. Stop clinging to her like a leech. Even if you two got married, you just get cheated on. In the past, I would have thrown a punch. Now, I didn't care. Get out." I ordered, my face hard. Chris shot me a glare and left. I wanted to go back to bed, but the stench of alcohol on Isabella was overwhelming. So I decided to help her into the shower first. I dragged her into the bathroom and started taking off her clothes. Her underwear was missing, and I saw faint red kiss marks on her neck. My heart seized. I left Isabella by the tub and went back to my room. Some time later, in a haze between sleep and waking, I heard my door open. It was Isabella. She climbed quietly into the bed and wrapped her arms around me from behind. "Did Chris bring me home tonight?" My sleep was broken, and I grunted in annoyance. "Don't get the wrong idea," she murmured. "Nothing happened with Chris. So much has been going on, I haven't had a chance to explain. Davis, let's have a baby," she whispered, her voice seductive as she stroked my back. In that moment, a flood of memories came back to me. 7 years of my devotion, and 7 years of her coldness. She had hurt me for Chris's sake. Looking at her face, I felt no desire, only rage. Maybe it was for revenge, but I kissed her then, a release of frustration, and roughly pulled at her thin nightgown. Just as I was about to go further, her phone rang. It was the special ringtone she had set for Chris. She scrambled to answer it. After a short conversation, she pushed me away and quickly threw her clothes on. "Chris got into a fight," she said. "I have to go." She didn't wait for a reply. With a loud slam of the front door, she was gone. Staring at the empty room, I told myself I shouldn't feel disappointed. This was just how things were. The next morning before work, my mother called. "Davis, the wedding is all set. I've booked your flight for tonight. The invitations have been sent out. If you have any friends you want to invite from there, just have them come." I agreed. "Okay, I'll be home tonight." Half an hour later, I walked into the office and saw red. All of my personal items from my desk were dumped in a pile by the door, including the only photo I had of myself with my late grandmother. I stormed in to find Chris sitting casually in my chair. "This is my office," I snarled. "Get out. And that stuff outside, was that you?" Chris sneered. "This office is mine now. Isabella just sent out the latest HR announcement. I'm taking over your position as director of marketing, and you're my new assistant. So I just threw out all the junk. Rage, heartache, a storm of emotions churned inside me. I had poured my life into this company for 7 years, and for him, this is how Isabella treated me. Whatever. I wasn't staying at this company anyway. It was just a director position. He could have it. But my grandmother, she didn't deserve to be treated like that. I picked up the framed photo and stared daggers at Chris. You can have the office. I don't want it. But you're going to apologize to my grandmother. Chris just laughed, snatched the frame from my hand, threw it on the floor, and stomped on it with his heel. Seeing the shattered glass and the dirty footprint across my grandmother's face, my vision went white with rage. I swung and punched him square in the jaw. Chris crumpled to the floor, howling in pain and clutching his face. Just as he'd planned, Isabella heard the commotion and rushed in, crying his name. "Davis, have you lost your mind?" she shrieked. She helped Chris to his feet and then screamed at me. I looked at Isabella, my gaze sharp as a knife. "He had it coming," I said. Chris sighed, his face a mask of pure victimhood. "Isabella, it's my fault. The director of marketing job was always Davis's. I shouldn't have taken it. His plan worked perfectly." Isabella's anger flared even hotter. "You'd hit someone over a promotion, Davis? You're even more pathetic than I thought." I wanted to explain, but I knew it was pointless. She had already placed all her trust in Chris, so why would I bother humiliating myself? I held out my resignation letter. "You're thinking too much. I quit. HR is already processing the paperwork." Shock flashed across her face, quickly replaced by anger. "Breaking up? Quitting your job? Do you have any idea how to clean up the mess you're making by throwing this tantrum?" "There's nothing to clean up," I said. We were already a complete disaster. She frowned, clearly not expecting that answer. "I get it," she said. "This is all about the director job, isn't it? Just stop making a scene, and the position is yours again." I replied calmly, "No, thank you. I'm leaving." I picked up the photo from the floor and started to walk out. But Isabella ran after me and grabbed my arm, her eyes blazing as she spoke through clenched teeth. "I'm telling you, if you walk out that door, not only am I giving Chris a promotion and a raise, I'm going to make our relationship official and marry him. You'll be the one left with nothing but regret." I didn't say a word, just looked at her quietly. When I didn't argue, her expression shifted to one of arrogance, as if she was certain she had me right where she wanted me. I smiled and pulled an invitation from my bag. "Great. I'm getting married, too. You're welcome to come to my wedding." Isabella froze completely. "Married? You're getting married?" Her voice trembled with disbelief. I nodded. "That's impossible. You're lying to me, aren't you? How could you just suddenly decide to get married?" I looked her right in the eye and smiled. "My mother arranged it." Isabella's lips began to tremble, and I could see a torrent of emotions swirling in her eyes. Then, her hand cracked across my face. "How could you do this to me?" she screamed. She was lashing out, but what right did she have? Wasn't she the one who created this entire situation? "Isabella, after that slap, we're even. We don't owe each other anything." With that, I turned and walked away without a second glance. She didn't try to grab me again. I could hear her screaming behind me. "Davis, you bastard." Chris was already by her side, trying to comfort her. "Isabella, don't worry about it. Let him go. You still have me." I returned to Greenwich, the place I once despised more than anywhere else. I still remembered how vehemently my mother had opposed me leaving home to follow Isabella. But back then, Isabella was my entire world. I would have given up anything just to be with her. Who could have imagined it would all end like this? Looking back, I was so lovesick and so stupid. I walked up the path and pushed open the heavy front doors. It felt good to be home. Milk baths, fresh flowers, maids attending to every need, a life of effortless luxury. This was how my life was supposed to be, not slaving away at a small startup with my entire world revolving around Isabella. "Davis!" A woman burst into the bathroom. I turned my head and saw Emily Hayes. We had basically grown up together. When we were kids, she loved to tease me, always trying to make me promise I'd marry her when we grew up. Later, we ended up at the same university. She was a bold girl who pursued me relentlessly for all 4 years of college. Everyone knew the most beautiful girl in the art department had a crush on me, but I only had eyes for Isabella. Emily, this is the bathroom. I'm taking a bath. I tried to get her to leave, but she clearly had no intention of doing so. A mischievous smile played on her face. I know, she said, before picking up a bucket of cold water from beside the tub and dumping it right over my head. Are you crazy? I yelled. She looked completely triumphant. You deserve it. That's for how you treated me back then, and for leaving without a word. I wanted to argue, but I couldn't. Deep down, I knew I owed her an apology. Back in college, she had confessed her feelings to me in front of everyone, holding a huge bouquet of flowers. And in front of that same crowd, I had thrown the flowers in the trash and told her to leave me alone. I heard later that she was heartbroken and cried in her dorm room for days. I thought about trying to explain things to her, but I was worried Isabella would get the wrong idea, so I let it go. The truth is, back then, Isabella couldn't have cared less who liked me. I am sorry, princess. I was wrong back then. Can you please get out now? I was out of options. Emily snorted, turned, and left, and I finally breathed a sigh of relief. 20 minutes later, I walked out in a bathrobe. My mom was waiting right outside the door and eagerly pulled me toward the living room. Hurry up, she said. She's been waiting for you for half an hour. I was confused. Who? I just got here. Who's waiting for me? Mom, you must be mistaken. Who else would it be? Your bride, of course. Before I could even process that, I was pulled down onto the sofa. Sitting across from me was none other than Emily. Even I wasn't dense enough to miss the implication. My bride was Emily. When I told my mom I was coming home, I hadn't even thought to ask who the bride was. You two talk, I'll just head upstairs, my mom said, already making her exit. She was really pulling out all the stops to get a grandchild. I looked at Emily, feeling awkward. Emily, you don't have to do this. I know I was a jerk back then, but you don't need to marry me just to get revenge. This is your entire life we're talking about. Emily stared at me, her expression unreadable. I'm not getting revenge on you. Then what is this? I asked. She stood up, walked over, and leaned in a whisper in my ear. It's nothing. I just want to marry you. Why? Because I like you. My mind went completely blank. I thought she must have hated my guts. I never would have expected this. What's wrong? She asked. You came all the way home, but you still can't get over that Isabella Miller? I just don't get it. What's so great about her? Is she richer than me? Prettier? Does she have a better body? I managed a small smile. No, Isabella and I are finished. Suddenly, I felt a warmth as she took my hand in hers. So you're mine now. Looking at her, I felt something stir inside me. After all these years, she hadn't changed a bit, still so bold, so genuine. Emily leaned closer. I could smell the faint scent of her perfume, feel her breath on my skin. I felt a stirring I couldn't ignore and quickly pushed her away. Let's just calm down, I said, breathing heavily. She just stared at me, and for some reason, her eyes started to well up. Davis, even without her, you still wouldn't choose me, would you? She looked so hurt, just like she did when we were kids, just like the day I rejected her. It all came flooding back. When I was little, I was always smaller than the other kids, so I got picked on a lot. And it was always Emily who stood up for me, facing down the bullies. She would stand in front of me and declare, "You're not allowed to pick on him." Later, in middle school, if any girl gave me a love letter, she'd rip it to shreds right in front of my face. She even threatened to tell my parents if I ever dared to date anyone. The day our final exams ended, my father passed away. She stayed with me for hours, just talking, holding my hand tightly, and promising she would always be there for me. I couldn't deny it. I had feelings for Emily. If it hadn't been for Isabella, I think we would have gotten together a long time ago. Looking into her eyes now, I couldn't hide it anymore. Don't cry. We're going to be husband and wife now. If the butler saw you like this, he'd think I was hurting you. The moment I said it, Emily's tears turned into a smile. You said it. We're husband and wife. As she spoke, she sat down on my lap. What are you doing? Since we're a married couple, she whispered, we should do what married couples do. The next moment, her lips were on mine. In all my years with Isabella, we had rarely been intimate. I had a lot of pent-up frustration. So in that moment, I lost control. I picked Emily up and carried her to my room. We spent the night lost in each other until the sun came up. It must have been 2 or 3 in the afternoon when the doorbell woke me. I opened the door to find Isabella standing on the doorstep. She looked at me, her mouth slightly open as if she wanted to speak but couldn't find the words. "What are you doing here?" I asked. She held out a necklace. "You forgot this." It was the first gift she had ever given me. I had left it behind on purpose, wanting to be rid of anything that reminded me of her. I took it from her and tried to shut the door, but she braced her hand against it. "Is there something else?" I asked. "Have you eaten yet?" she asked. "There's a great place nearby." Isabella trailed off as Emily, wearing one of my silk robes, wrapped her arms around me from behind. Emily recognized Isabella immediately. Their eyes met, and Emily smiled. "Miss Miller, do you need something with my husband?" Isabella stammered, "I know nothing. I'll go now." And she left. Emily turned to me, her expression serious. "Your ex is clearly not over you. What are you going to do about it? I think you're reading too much into it." Emily frowned at me. "Trust me, it's a woman's intuition. I'm telling you, stay away from her from now on." I turned to face her and nodded. "Okay, I'll listen to you." The words were barely out of my mouth before Emily's arms were around my neck, her lips finding mine. I held her close and slowly began to kiss her back. I could feel every breath she took. Later that evening, a contact request popped up on my phone. It was from Chris. After a moment's hesitation, I accepted it. The moment I did, a message from him came through on iMessage. "Since you and Isabella are broken up, can you please do her a favor and stop bothering her?" Before I even had time to process that, another message appeared. "Do you have any idea that Isabella missed our date today just to bring you that stupid necklace? This is all your fault. I suggest you figure out your place and stop bothering us." Reading his messages, I couldn't help but laugh. In the past, Isabella had always put Chris first. A year ago, I was sick with a fever, so weak I could barely move. I asked Isabella to pick up some medicine for me, but she said Chris was having a crisis at work and needed her help. She hung up before I could say another word. I only found out later that there was no work crisis. She just didn't want to come home. I knew she saw me as a burden. And yet today, she had actually stood Chris up on a date to bring me that necklace. I picked up my phone, ready to block his number. Suddenly, a hand reached over and plucked the phone from my grasp. It was Emily. She tossed the phone aside and snuggled into my arms. "You're broken up. Stop thinking about it." I held her and nodded affectionately. "Yeah, I was just going to block him," I said. "These people are irrelevant. There's no reason to keep them around." Hearing that, Emily hugged me a little tighter. "There's a party tomorrow," she said. "Want to go together? It would be the perfect chance to make us official." I smiled and agreed. Seeing my response, Emily immediately turned off the lights and kissed me passionately. I was awake early the next morning, watching Emily sleep peacefully beside me. I felt my heart beat faster. I was so lost in the moment that I didn't notice that she had woken up. She snuggled deeper into my arms and stretched lazily. "What time is it?" she murmured. I wrapped my arms around her waist. 9 o'clock on the... The words were barely out of my mouth before she shot upright in bed. "We have to get ready." Before I could react, she was pulling me into the bathroom. The door had barely clicked shut before she started pulling off my pajama shirt. I instinctively covered myself. "What are you doing?" Emily looked at me like it was the most obvious thing in the world. "Showering. After last night, don't you think you need one?" I backed toward the door, stammering, "Yes, of course, but you go first. I'll shower after you're done." I turned to leave, but Emily grabbed the back of my shirt. She pulled so hard that the fabric ripped. "We're married now," she said. "Don't tell me you're still shy." I looked down at my ruined shirt and nodded meekly. Seeing my reaction, Emily burst out laughing. "All right, stop stalling and come scrub my back." By the time she finished speaking, she was already completely undressed. My heart hammered in my chest as I looked at her. After a long moment, I finally managed to reply, "Okay." It was 11 by the time Emily and I finally left the house. She was wearing a stunning custom-made green gown. The mermaid cut perfectly accentuated her figure, and her long hair fell casually down her back. I just stood there by the door, staring. Noticing my reaction, Emily walked over to me. "What is it?" she asked with a playful smile. "Am I just too beautiful?" I took her arm in mine and smiled. "Yes, you're beautiful." Hearing that, a sweet smile spread across her face. "A lot of my friends will be at the party tonight," she said. "I'll introduce you to everyone." My heart clenched when she said that. I didn't snap out of it until Emily said my name again. "Okay," I replied. It was only in that moment that I realized something. In all the years I was with Isabella, she had never once introduced me to her friends. The entire time we were together, she had kept me a secret. I pushed the thought away and followed Emily into the party in Manhattan. The event was a joint affair, hosted by several of the city's most powerful families. Its primary purpose was matchmaking. The moment we stepped inside, people started greeting Emily. Emily didn't hesitate for a second, introducing me proudly. "This is my husband, Davis." I smiled and returned their greetings politely. As the party got underway, I spotted two familiar figures in the crowd, Isabella and Chris. I was about to look away, but my eyes met Isabella's for a brief second. Her gaze was filled with a hopeful expectation. I didn't react. I slowly averted my eyes, pulling Emily closer to my side. I picked up a strawberry and held it to her lips. Emily looked at the fruit, stunned for a second before understanding. She ate it from my fingers. "Everything tastes sweeter when my husband feeds it to me," she purred. She then picked up another one for me. "Sweet, isn't it?" she asked, looking up at me, her face delicate and perfect. I nodded. "Very sweet." Midway through the party, Emily went to catch up with some old friends. I had nothing to do, so I headed for the restroom. On my way back, I bumped right into Isabella. I don't know if I was imagining it, but the look in her eyes seemed incredibly panicked. I started to walk away, but she grabbed my arm. "Don't go," she pleaded. I pulled my arm free. "We're over, Isabella. Please stop bothering me." I turned to leave again, but this time she threw her arms around me. In the past, I would have held her tight and never let go. But now all I felt was disgust. I pried her hands off me, took a step back, and raised my voice. "I told you we're finished. Besides, I'm married now, so please stop bothering me. I don't want any unnecessary drama." Isabella stared at me, her eyes red and glassy. I had never seen her look like this before. "Davis, are you really married? Aren't you just saying that to make me angry?" I looked at her without a shred of hesitation and nodded. "Yes, I'm married. My wife is Emily Hayes, and I love her very much." But even after I had made it so clear, she refused to believe it. She reached for my hand, but I moved it out of her reach. Isabella flinched when I pulled away. "Davis, I know I was wrong," she pleaded. "Do you have any idea how much I've missed you since you left? I think about you every single day. From the very beginning, you were the only one for me. Please, can you forgive me?" It was the first time she had ever apologized to me. We had been together for so long, and in every single fight, she had never been the one to back down. She would just give me the silent treatment or disappear for a while, waiting for me to come crawling back and apologize. I would buy her gifts and do anything to make her happy, but she never once met me halfway. I looked at her now and shook my head firmly. "Isabella, it's too late for that. There's no chance for us anymore. Let's just go our separate ways." She opened her mouth to say something else, but just then, Emily walked up. I immediately wanted to explain, so she wouldn't get the wrong idea, but she just threw her arms around me and planted a kiss on my cheek. "Honey, I was wondering where you'd gone," she said. "I see you got tangled up with this little snake. It's a shame, too. I picked out this suit for you myself. Next time you see a schemer like her, you should just walk away. You don't want to get your clothes dirty." As she spoke, Emily took off my suit jacket and tossed it into a nearby trash can. Such a shame. Then she walked right up to Isabella. She gave her a look dripping with contempt. "Could you please do me a favor and stop bothering my husband?" The color drained from Isabella's face, replaced by pure rage. But before she could say a word, Emily was already pulling me away. "See," Emily said, "I told you she wasn't over you." I took her hand in mine. "You were right. You were right about everything." With that, Emily pulled me up onto the stage and took the microphone. She announced to the entire room that I was her husband. The announcement was met with a wave of enthusiastic applause. Everyone seemed happy for us, except for Isabella. She stood in the crowd below, biting her lip so hard it looked painful, her eyes burning with hatred as she stared at me. Finally, in front of everyone, she turned and stormed out of the party. Chris, who had no idea what was going on, naturally decided it was my fault. He found me a few minutes later, his tone aggressive. "Davis, what the hell did you say to Isabella? Didn't I tell you to leave us alone?" I knew that just trying to explain it to him wouldn't work. He wouldn't believe me. "You want to know?" I asked. He didn't hesitate. "Tell me what happened." I didn't say another word. I just led him to the security office. On the surveillance footage, you could clearly see Isabella approaching me, and the audio picked up every single word she said. When the video ended, Chris's face was a twisted mask of fury. "Why? Why is she still thinking about you? What do you have that I don't?" He grabbed my collar, his face contorted with rage. I looked him in the eye and said through clenched teeth, "Why don't you go ask her yourself?" Chris was silent for a long moment before finally letting go of my shirt. He slumped to the floor of the security office, completely defeated. I didn't say anything else. I just found Emily and we left. When we got home that night, several hashtags were trending all over Twitter. Hashtag Miller airs heartbreak. Hashtag Peterson heir gets revenge. A video of Isabella drinking at a bar had gone viral on TikTok. The content of the video was shocking. After leaving the party, Isabella had gone straight to a bar. The clip showed her downing drink after drink. She was screaming, "Davis, why don't you want me anymore? Can't you just come back to me? I miss you so much. I know I was wrong. The truth is, I never loved Chris. I was just playing with him. It's always been you, only you. I thought no matter what I did, you would never leave me. I was wrong. Why did you have to get married? Why can't you just look back at me one more time?" And at that exact moment, the video panned to show Chris standing in the doorway of the bar. He had heard everything. The realization hit him, and he stormed forward. He grabbed Isabella by the shoulders and asked, "Isabella, was all of that true?" Isabella looked up and saw that it was Chris. She just smiled. "Yes, it's all true." "What? You have a problem with that?" Chris let go of her, his voice numb. "Then what was the proposal? What was all that about marrying me?" Isabella paused for a moment. "Oh, the proposal," she slurred. "I just did that for Davis to see. I love it when he gets jealous. I wanted him to come running back to me." As her words sank in, Chris's eyes turned red. He asked, his voice cracking, "Then what about me?" Isabella downed another drink and said without a second thought, You're nothing." With that, Isabella walked out of the bar without a backward glance. And that's where the video ended. I thought that would be the end of it. But an hour later, a storm of accusations against Isabella erupted online. Isabella Miller, high school bully. Isabella Miller's secret pregnancy. There was even a photo of a positive pregnancy test. The person who leaked it all was Chris. Clearly, he was out for revenge at this point. If Isabella didn't come forward with a statement, things were only going to get worse. But the night passed, and Isabella remained silent. Her social media comments exploded. Without exception, every single one was vicious. Seeing it all unfold, I felt a strange sense of satisfaction. Just then, there was a knock at the door. Emily went to get it. The person standing on the doorstep was a complete mess. Her hair was matted, her clothes were torn, and she reeked of alcohol. It took me a long moment to realize it was Isabella. I walked over and tried to close the door, but she stuck her hand in the way. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with desperation. "What do you want?" I asked coldly. "I just wanted to see you," she whispered. "Well, you've seen me. You can go now." Even after I'd told her to leave, she didn't move. "Davis, I'm all alone now." I wasn't surprised to hear it. After the scandal broke last night, the Miller family had already started doing damage control. This morning, the Miller family had issued a public statement disowning her. They were a powerful family with a strict reputation to uphold. A mistake like this was unforgivable. It would have affected their business partnerships. Considering the long-term consequences, cutting ties with Isabella was their only logical move. "And that has absolutely nothing to do with me," I said, giving her no quarter. When she heard my words, the light in her eyes seemed to die. "What about all our years together? Do they mean nothing to you?" I laughed coldly to myself. "That's right. Nothing. Can you please leave now? You are not welcome here. And please, don't ever bother my wife and me again." Seeing how resolute I was, Isabella finally turned and left. When I turned back inside, Emily had a huge dinner spread out on the table. Every single dish was one of my favorites. Even after all these years, she still remembered. As we sat down to eat, Emily placed a piece of shrimp on my plate. "Try it," she said. "I made it myself." I popped it in my mouth. It was delicious, exactly how I remembered it from years ago. "It's amazing." "Then I'll cook for you every day," she said, beaming. I paused for a moment. "You're my wife. I can't have you slaving away in the kitchen. From now on, that's my job. Your only job is to eat, drink, and be happy." Emily's eyes lit up. "Okay, honey." After dinner, Emily and I were about to go for a walk when we heard a loud thud from outside. A moment later, a crowd started to gather near the northwest corner of the complex. Someone jumped, a voice said. The buildings in our complex were all at least 40 stories high. A fall from that height would be devastating. Curious, Emily and I walked over to see what was happening. From a distance, we could see the person on the ground was wearing a maroon shirt and black shorts. The same clothes Isabella had been wearing just a little while ago. We didn't go any closer. We just turned around and went home. It was all finally over.